Good morning, dear students. Welcome to the last session of The Voter by Chinua Achebe. In the previous class, we have seen two parties, POP and PAP. We have seen the contestants Marcus Ibe and Maduka. We have seen the leaders of the campaigning team. And we also discussed how Rufe's plans were thwarted when he got a strange visit from one of his acquaintances. It was the leader of the POP campaigning team. He came straight away and asked Rufe for his vote. He said, "I have come here to buy your vote." And he offered a £5 note for a single vote. Rufe was taken aback, but he was always a man of quick decision. He was ready to accept the note. For some moments, he forgot about Marcus Ibe. The red notes on which the picture of a cocoa farmer harvesting his crop was imprinted attracted him. And then the leader of the POP campaigning team asked his companion to bring forward an object, and that object was the E from Mbanta. It was just a small object inside a clay pot with some feathers stuck to that, and it was an evil deity. Rufe was made to swear on the E that he would vote for Maduka in the elections. And if he is not voting for Maduka, definitely the E will haunt him throughout his life. Rufus Okeke did not think much. He immediately accepted the offer of a £5 note for his vote, and he made a promise on the E. And then it was the election morning. Marcus Ibe was there outside one of the polling booths. He was sitting inside his car, in the honors corner of his car. People were moving. He wanted to make this event, this election, a great one, for which he had hired a high life band from Umuru. They were playing music, and the voters who were marching onto the polling booths, they danced in between, listening to the music played by them. And Rufe was prancing up and down along with other campaign boys. He was giving the last minute advice to the voters. He was telling them how to vote. He told them that there would be 2 boxes kept, and on one box you would find the sign of a motor car. They have to put their ballot paper inside that box. And he also told them not to choose the next one. There would be another box with a man's head on that. And he said that was not for the people who are very much normal. So in this way he was giving them advices, and he could in between also attract the attention of Marcus Ibe, and he appreciated Rufe with a smile. So this is where we had stopped in the previous class. So now let's continue with the chapter. In spite of his apparent calm and confidence, Chief the Honorable Marcus was a relentless stickler for detail. Now this describes what Marcus Ibe is. See, he appeared calm and he had a confident face. Even then, he was a relentless stickler. A stickler means a man who insists on certain quality. He counted each and every detail as well. He was noticing each and everything. He made sure that his campaign boys worked properly. So what did he do? He knew he would win what the newspapers called a landslide victory, but he did not wish, even so, to throw away a single vote. So he knew very well, all the newspapers had predicted that Marcus Ibe would win the election. And that too how? He'll have a landslide victory, they said. Landslide victory means winning by a large margin of votes. See, right at the beginning of the chapter, Chinua Achebe had already told us that opposition was nothing for Marcus Ibe. They did not expect an opponent for him. And it came at the time of election, but that too was not a force which could defeat Marcus, they believed. So here, every newspaper had the prediction that Marcus Ibe, the Minister of Culture, would win the election and it would be a landslide victory, winning by a large number of votes. But he did not want to take any risk. He did not like to throw away a single vote. He did not want even a single vote to be wasted. So, as soon as the first rush of voters was over, he promptly asked his campaign boys to go one at a time and put in their ballot papers. So what did he do? Soon after the first rush was over, when there was a gap, when there was no queue outside the polling booth, he called his campaign boys and then he told them, go and cast your vote. You have to do it. Don't assume that I would win the election or I would have a landslide victory. You also have to cast your vote. He told them. Roof, you had better go first, he said. Then he called Roof and told, Rufus, okay, you move on first. First you go and come. Then one by one, all of you can go and put in your ballots inside the boxes, he said. Roof's spirits fell, but he let no one see it. See, we know the dilemma of Roof. Roof was the leader of the PAP campaigning team. He was a loyal supporter of Marcus Ibe, but he had sold his vote. From the buyer of votes, he had become a seller of votes. His vote had already been sold. So, somewhere inside his mind, there was this worry, there was this tension, and he did not show that outside at all. He always had put on a happy face outside, and suddenly when Marcus Ibe told him, you go and vote, his spirits fell. He became disappointed. All morning, he had masked his deep worry with a surface exertion which was unusual even for him. Now, when we consider the nature of Roof, he was never able to have a different face outside. Usually, he expressed his feelings. But since that morning, he was having a happy face, and the worry and tension that he had clearly hidden inside. And that was actually some unusual practice for him. Now, he dashed off in a springy fashion towards the booths. Dashing off means running. So now, as soon as Marcus Ibe told him, because Marcus Ibe is his master, he ran off towards the polling booth. A policeman at the entrance searched him for illegal ballot papers and passed him. Then, the electoral officer explained to him about the two boxes. So now what is the procedure? He reached the entrance and there was a policeman. We all know that is usual anywhere when an election is held, police would be in action. So there was a policeman outside, he checked, and again there were only two candidates and two boxes would be there. So one ballot paper would be there with each person who goes in to cast his vote. The policeman checked him, he found that Roof was carrying only one ballot paper, then he was allowed inside the room. Then there was an electoral officer, one who was in charge of conducting the election. He explained in what way you have to vote. So Roof went in. By this time, the spring had gone clean out of his walk. Now, by the time he entered the polling booth, the spring had gone out. What does it mean? Spring is a season of happiness, spring is a season of joys, and spring also is a season of birds and flowers. Spring also stands for energy. So by the time he had gone in, spring had gone out of his walk, which means the energy inside him had been drained out completely. He became disappointed by the time he had gone. All the happiness that was on his face, it vanished all of a sudden. He sidled in and was confronted by the car and the hit. And he went inside to vote, and what did he face? Confront means face. There were two boxes in front of him. One box on which there was the sign of a motor car, and there was another box on which a man's head was printed. So he faced these two boxes. He brought out his ballot paper from his pocket and looked at it. How could he betray Marcus even in secret? So now what did he do? He took the ballot paper outside. He's supposed to put it inside one of the boxes. And as soon as he looked at the ballot paper, he was thinking, how can I betray Marcus? How can I cheat Marcus? I am the leader of his campaigning team. I was going from house to house at night, doing whispering campaign, buying votes for him, distributing shillings that he had asked me to give the village elders. And now, how could I cheat myself? How could I betray Marcus? He was thinking as he looked at the ballot paper. He resolved to go back to the other man and return his £5. £5. So then he thought, I cannot betray Marcus. I cannot vote for Maduka. So what did he decide? Okay, let me just go back. Let me vote for Marcus. Let me go back and give back that £5 to the man who had given it to me. And then the idea struck him. £5. Is it a small sum? Is it a meager sum? No. He knew at once it was impossible. He knew himself. He knew his nature. He was thinking, it's not possible for me to give that £5 back. He had sworn on that E. Now, why couldn't he give it back? One thing he was attracted to, that he was eager to have that money with him. And the second reason is that he had already made the promise. He had sworn on the evil deity from Ambanta. The notes were red, the cocoa farmer busy at work. And now think about the color of the £5 note that he had accepted. Red in color. Red stands for danger. So it's dangerous to go back because he would be breaking the promise that he had made on the E, which means he will be haunted throughout his life. He cannot do that. And he was also attracted by the picture on the red note. The cocoa farmer busy at work, busy at harvesting his crops. Again, that symbolized prosperity, abundance. He wanted that money. He was not ready to give that money as well. So these were the two things that put Ruth in dilemma. At this point, he heard the muffled voice of the policeman asking the electoral officer what the man was doing inside. So he's having the ballot paper in his hand. He's looking at it and he's thinking, what to do now? I cannot betray Marcus. At the same time, I cannot give the £5 back. So what should I do now? And then he heard the muffled voice. Muffled means hushed. So somebody was speaking outside in a very, very low voice, and that was the policeman. And the policeman was asking the electoral officer, because only when Ruth comes out, he can let in another voter. So he was asking the electoral officer, what is that man doing? He has gone there some time back. It's time for him to come out. And this is what exactly he asked. Abina picking him the born? And this is in Pidgin English. It's a mixture of Igbo language and English. And it means, is he giving birth to a child inside? He has gone inside. He has been there for some time. What is he doing? Is he giving childbirth? Is he giving birth to a baby inside? He could have come out earlier. The policeman was questioning the electoral officer. Quick as lightning, a thought leapt into Ruth's mind. Suddenly, a thought came to his mind. See, he was in a dilemma. He did not know what to do. He was holding the ballot paper and he was standing. And now a thought came to him. He folded the paper, tore tore it into along the crease and put 1/2 in each box. So the thought was this, I have to vote for Maduka because I had sworn on that E and I had accepted money for voting for him. I cannot betray Marcus because I work for him. This thought came, so what did he do? He took the ballot paper, he folded it, and along the crease means the line along which you fold the paper, he just tore it. Now he had got 2 pieces. What did he do? One piece he put in one box and the other piece he put in the other box. He took the precaution of putting the first half into Maduka's box and confirming the action verbally. I vote for Maduka. So what did he do? The first piece that he had, he tore the ballot paper into 2. The first piece of paper he put in the box on which there was a man's head printed. And as he put inside, he confirmed verbally. He was doing the action of voting. He had sworn on the E. So he said, I vote for Maduka. I have voted and my vote was for Maduka, so that the E would not take revenge on him. So he took that precaution and the other half he put for Marcus. So according to him, he had not betrayed Marcus and he had even kept the promise that he had made on the E. They marked his thumb with indelible purple ink to prevent his return, and he went out of the booth as jauntily as he had gone in. Now, what do you mean by jauntily? Jauntily means happily. So, after voting, he came out and he showed his finger, his thumb, and on the thumb they put the mark using the indelible purple ink. It cannot allow a man to come back to the booth for a second vote. Each person has only one vote. So for that they put a mark on the thumb with an ink which cannot be rubbed off immediately. So that mark was made which showed that he had done his voting. Then he came out of the booth and as happily as he had gone in, he went out. So what does this tell us? This tells that the prick that he had felt inside his heart is no more now. He had done his voting, he had kept his promise, he had not betrayed Marcus according to him. So the story, the voter, ends here. Chinua Achebe does not bring in any philosophy, he just brought in a few characters, Rufus Okeke, Marcus Ibe, Maduka and some village elders, etc. And he just tells us this is how an election happens. And the analysis has to be done by us, the readers. Now just let us think about the 2 characters we have seen, Rufus Okeke. How does he act? He is the loyal supporter of Marcus Ibe and he is not supposed to cheat him. But what did he do? He has sold his vote. So there is no conscience there. And what about Marcus Ibe? He himself was not such a clean man. Before entering politics, he had a career as a teacher. And what did he do there? He was involved in a sex scandal. And he was about to be dismissed from his school. And politics saved him. And after entering politics, what did he do? All the villagers supported him. They thought the son of the village, Umofia, would bring in development. And what development do we find at the end of 5 years? We found the village was still in its backward state with no electricity and with no running water. And what about Marcus Ibe? He had amassed wealth, he had got many titles, he had become chief, the honorable, he had 2 long cars and he had built a huge mansion in his village. And he had even installed a private plant that supplied electricity to his house. And at times, just to honor or just to tell his villagers that he had not forgotten them, he would arrange feasts. At the time of his housewarming ceremony, when the archbishop came to bless his house, what did he do? He offered a feast to all the villagers. They became quite happy. But at the same time, they also got time to introspect. They understood Marcus was a poor man earlier, but after 5 years, he is a rich man and they need not give their votes for free. So do you think the village elders are corrupt? They are also corrupted. Because they don't think about development that would come to their village. They want a share of the money that Marcus Ibey had amassed. They are demanding money. They told, today is our day. We had not asked him for money earlier. Tomorrow also we are not going to ask him, but today is our day and we need. So, Rufus corrupted, and again think about POP. The party POP has been formed by some of the tribes down the coastal region with one intention. They claimed that they wanted to protect their country from social, religious, political annihilation. And what are they doing? They hired a few local rascals and thugs, gave them a lot of money, and they asked these people to distribute money not in shillings but in pounds and to buy some votes. And why did they do that? Next election, when it comes after 5 years, people would know that POP would offer more money and they will vote for POP. So, when you look at the chapter, you find that Chinua Achebe is sarcastically speaking about the way elections are held in Nigeria. And Rufus' honesty, we can't trust him. He was a follower of Marcus Ibey, head of the campaign boys, still he sold his vote. He fell for the money, so he is also corrupt. Thus, Achebe exposes both the voter and the candidate. So as I began the chapter, I discussed 2 points with you. The theme of the story is corruption. We have seen how corruption has crept into the Nigerian society. Then again, Chinua Achebe has got a theme commonly found in all his works, the clash between Western ideologies and traditional culture. That is also seen. Democracy is not in traditional African culture. It has come from the West. And there is often a clash that you find between tradition and this Western culture in the chapter. Chinua Achebe satirizes the human weakness for power and money. Rufus is just an example. Marcus Ibey is another example. The village elders are also example. They are all they had the weakness. They wanted power, they wanted money. And again, he just brings out the evils of our election system. So dear students, we have come to the end of the chapter. I hope you were able to understand and comprehend the concepts that we had discussed. Character analysis is very important in this chapter, especially that of Rufus Okeke and Marcus Ibey. And this chapter is full of proverbs and idioms and phrases. So thus, Chinua Achebe brings out the evils of the election system through this chapter, The Voter. Hope you all were able to understand the chapter. Thank you.